Hello.
Good morning. I've come back from leave for this, so, we better be good.
Isn't it always, Joe?
Well, always good? No.
Yeah.
It's not always good.
Always worth coming back from leave for.
Oh, I don't know. I hear you missed your golf.
I did. I missed me golf. Julia had COVID.
Poor you. Poor Julia, actually.
Yeah, poor Julia, really. But the vaccines all worked because she was fit enough to work from home for a week.
Miserable.
And is she better now?
She's all better now, yeah. And I'm quite pleased because I never tested positive, which was good. So I was able to keep going.
I'm having my COVID booster this afternoon.
Oh.
I had mine last week.
I had my flu vaccine last week.
So watch out, dear viewer. Sunday morning, David's going to be boosted. We'll have Reverend David Baldwin with extra energy.
That's every Sunday is extra energy, Chris. But the Lord is on my side. Have you not noticed this?
I think anecdotally, people have been having grotty reactions to this round of boosters.
Well, I've got an afternoon of hospitals today. I've got to go this afternoon because I've got to have my abdominal aneurysm test. Having reached the noble age of 65, all men get offered it. I did have a lady in church, a woman, whatever you want to call them, in church on Wednesday, who said to me...
Whatever you want to call them.
Well, it's
just let it fly over. Woman is exactly what you should be doing.
No, I'm only because I've always been taught by my mother to call females ladies, and now it's not allowed, but it doesn't matter. I had one person tackle me and said, why couldn't they have an aneurysm test? And the answer is quite simple, because men are 6 times more likely at 65 to show positive than women. According to the literature, that is, not me. Yeah. So there we are. But I'm going for that, and then I'm going for the COVID injection, and then I shall pray about it all tonight.
Well, blessings. I felt quite grotty.
Yeah.
After COVID, and I felt quite grotty after my flu as well. I mean, only briefly, like the next day, but...
I was lucky because I've always been an anti-fluish type flu injection person, because when it first came out, I used to have it in the health service, and it really used to make us all feel ill. But last year I had it for the first time and I was okay. And on Friday, when I went to the doctor's to have my old leg checked and done, the nurse said, I see you're booked in tomorrow for the flu. Do you want to know while you're here, so coming back? So I had it on Friday.
And no ill effects?
No. I mean, Jane had a sore arm. I didn't even have that, but I know a number. But then I met quite a few people in town who've had COVID over the last week who were saying they've been fine, but some have been ill. But hopefully not. We'll see. We will see.
I was fine after my booster last week.
Good. Where did you go?
Dorchester.
There's a lot of people around here going to Martock.
Gosh. It's a bit random. It just depends what you get offered when you try and book.
Yeah, and one day to another, the venues that have got places are different.
Well, the first time I tried to book, they offered me Truro.
Gosh, that's quite a long way to go. And I'm very pro-vaccination, so I'd pretty much go anywhere. But I think even Truro, I might think.
Well, not for me.
Were they trying to say something there, David?
Sorry?
Were they trying to say something?
No, they offered me 3: Truro, Bath, or Salisbury.
We could have done it when you were there for Bishop's Council.
I could have done, but it wasn't the day they were offering me.
Of course not.
But that was interesting. I did get a look at it because I put it on my nightly blog about this journey to Truro potentially, and somebody said tomorrow morning Mike is putting up another 1,000 appointments for Beaminster. So I waited till the morning, went back on the national website, typed in Beaminster, and he threw all the appointments up. So I was okay.
Excellent.
So there we are. So hopefully COVID will remain what it is, really, a very bad kind of flu, and we'll all have our injections and potentially keep safe.
Well, the good thing is, it seems to be, from what I'm reading, is the vaccine's working well.
It does, I think so. Except, yeah, I think so. I hope so.
Changed it from a disease that is potentially deadly to a much more manageable thing.
It's the speed with which they've done it, I think, is amazing.
It's amazing. I read the book about it over the summer. It's just astounding. Yeah, it's really good. I'll lend it to you. It's really cool. Called Vaxxers.
I mean, we're very fortunate because Jane's brother, who works in the scientific officer at Birmingham University, she was taken off he was taken off his usual workings. He works in embryology normally, but he went into the team that was doing this, and some of the things he's talked to us about, how they've worked at it, now it's been done, have been outstanding.
Great. Should we have our pause then?
Aye.
So All Saints Day today. Well, not today, but 1st of November, but you can celebrate it on Sunday. So that's what we'll have for readings for today.
Luke chapter 6. Then he, that's Jesus, looked at his disciples and said, "Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Blessed are you when people hate you, and when they exclude you, revile you, and defame you on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice on that day and leap for joy, for surely your reward is great in heaven. For that is what their ancestors did to the prophets. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. Woe to you when all speak well of you, for that is what their ancestors did to the false prophets. But I say to you that listen, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you, and if anyone takes away your goods, do not ask for them again. Do to others as you would have them do to you."
I think it's a shame that we haven't got the prophet with us today after his appearance last week from a distance.
No.
Because I think it would be interesting to hear what the prophet would say about this, because he was obviously prophetical last week.
Was that only a week ago?
I know. I was just thinking, was that only a week ago? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder. It's almost like the voice from heaven coming from the side of the screen, but obviously very prophetical. And
She's resigned? No, she hasn't.
No. There we are.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've been looking on the alternative version of the Beatitudes for Remembrance Sunday, and whilst they're very, very, very similar, the way they're presented are just so different, aren't they?
It is. Yeah. The woes and the blessings that sit side by side.
Yeah.
And then that really chunky challenge at the end of loving your enemies, blessing those who curse you, praying for those who abuse you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other. Anyone takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who begs from you. Anyone takes away your good, do not ask for them again. Do to others as they would have them do to you. Blimey. I think I'm okay with verse 31, but the rest of it is very, very challenging.
What is verse 31? If I don't have it in.
Do to others as you would have them do to you. The golden rule, which I think lots of people who don't have faith would live by that or try to. But Jesus is asking huge amounts of us here.
I was actually reading it in quite a different way. For the first time ever.
Go on.
Well, because we've just had those, if anyone strikes you, give them the other one. Other one also, if somebody takes your shirt or takes your coat, give them your shirt. I read that, oh, does that mean I can take somebody else's coat and they should give me their shirt as well?
Every fibre of my being says, no, that's wrong, Chris.
I didn't say I was right there in my thinking. If you look at what it follows...
It's very interesting, yes.
I'm beginning to see why there is a different gospel doctrine around the Egerton Loaders group.
He'll be encouraging everyone to go and strike people on the cheek on Sunday.
Yeah. You give him a good pow here. That's very good, Joe. We need Harry to put in a Batman thing. Pow.
Pow with a
Very good.
Hey, does that mean on Sunday I can go around with a collection plate and everybody who puts £5 in, I can say, you've got to give me another £5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Anyone who begs from you, and if they take away your goods.
I'll tell you what, Joe, we'll have to go up there, won't we, with all our old coats and see what we get back in return. Oh, Christopher, how on earth? I mean, I think it's such an interesting thing about, for me, I've always liked the All Saints Festival, not only because of the choice of music and things can be quite uplifting for me, but also trying to define actually what is a saint.
Well, and this reading from Luke gives us no help with that at all.
None whatsoever. Except Paul does try to help us in some way occasionally by defining saints as those who've converted to the new faith as opposed to those who've died, which we traditionally think of around this time. And it's not, and Jesus, I think, was it's not special people who are being singled out for sainthood. It's there and available for all of us. And this list of woes and challenges, etc., is a way of setting our stall towards, as you say, being kind, being good, trying to do what is right, which, as you again said, is a golden rule. That was one of the things that, again, I've often referred to my mother, but certainly taught us, and was written in the front of my school prayer book that we were given by the Gideons. Do unto others what you would want them to do to you. And it's a very, very interesting piece of scripture.
It's just so more than that, though, isn't it? It's just so more than just being kind, because it's radically hard. So if you're abused,
mm-hmm.
or if you're in war currently,
let's say if you're a Ukrainian,
very hard to pray for your enemies. And this is way beyond being kind. I think it's just read
so verse 29. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also.
Yeah.
If you could almost say, well, if Russians bomb your flat, ask them to bomb your neighbours as well.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
Which can't be right, can it?
No, but it's, and I guess that's what we've got to kind of dig into is Jesus asking us to be doormats, which one of our colleagues would always say, I'm not going to be Jesus's doormat. And I don't think he is, but isn't he looking at some kind of radical transformation, which is what the blessings and the woes are about? Because, of course, in the world's terms, you're never blessed if you're poor or marginalised. You're trampled down. And then we see that in our country currently. If you are living on benefits and you're struggling to pay your heating bills, there is no help. There's not much help for you, and we'd like to tax you a bit harder. But if you're a billionaire, you're all right, Jack, you'll be fine. And actually, that's how the world works. But Jesus is suggesting that God's kingdom is the other way around, for which I say hooray. But he's also teaching us that living that. So, in Jesus's kingdom, the poor will be liberated and lifted up. And the ones all of us who've had everything already are going to struggle a bit. But to live that way means living in that radical way where we are willing to love more generously than we can ever imagine. and resist evil for evil and pray for our enemies. It's exciting, but it's huge.
Has anybody ever gone home happy because they've been insulted for believing in God?
I bet some people have.
I can cope with being insulted for God. I think I'd not want to cope with being stoned or crucified for believing in God. Another difference, isn't there? Today, as I often say, we're not going to have to face up to anything that those early Christians faced up. And if someone's going to call me a name or be rude to me, well, yeah, in the end, it's insignificant compared to what some people put up to for their faith across the world. And that's not just Christian faith, that can be faith in other religions. You only have to look at India at the moment with their present Prime Minister, who, being a devout Hindu, doesn't like the Muslims or the Sikhs, or particularly evangelical Christians. And there's all kinds of problems going on in parts of India where they're being literally persecuted of different traditions. So it's not just Christians that are persecuted. That I think many other traditions are persecuted as well. I think the bit about turning cheek for me, I've always looked at it, and I agree with you. If you are in Ukraine or in Europe, somewhere else where people are being killed, look at Iraq. Is it Iraq at the moment with all the protests going on?
Yeah.
Over the young lady who was killed. It's very easy to rise and to want to hit back. I think what Jesus is saying is actually retaliating isn't going to solve the problem. Now, I know that's if you're a Ukrainian person whose house has been bombed or family have been killed, but that's the same with any war, isn't it? And but I think what Jesus is saying is somehow we've got to try and find a way that we can or find alternative ways of solving conflict and all the bruising that we get in life.
Yeah, I mean, it is a radical way of living that's completely countercultural to the world's values.
Yeah,
absolutely. But that's what's exciting about it. That's what's transforming about it.
I agree entirely, Joe.
I remember a conversation I had at work when I was probably in my early 20s. I've had basically most insults when you work in shop floors about being Christians as you can get. And I remember just saying to one guy, I said, look, because if you're asking me about Christianity just to insult me, then don't bother. Because if you really want to know, I'll tell you. And it actually shut him up for months.
The threat of you talking about Jesus shut him up. Yeah. But it's this challenge. We were talking about it earlier before we started recording about discipleship. What does it actually mean to follow Jesus? And it's so many different aspects of our life. So you've just been talking about how we might witness, how we might talk about our faith. But this is all about how you live it, isn't it? It's about what you do that would make you stand out from others because of your faith. Your actions would show your faith by what you do.
I mean, what this is doing, our normal standards and assumptions are being completely turned around, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's what is so wonderful about this and the alternative readings on this subject. It's just fantastic. We all know how we should live our lives, and I think most people, even if you're not a Christian, know how we should live our lives in a way that is generous and kind and good to other people. But it's so easy sometimes to get sucked in, particularly into petty things. We've had all this happen with these children around the churchyard. The first thing some people want you to do is lock the building or catch them and take pictures of them. But actually, it doesn't solve anything, because the more you aggravate them, the more they're going to be, because it's just a nuisance more than anything else. And the more so you've got to try and talk to them and live with, and I always say to them when I've met them, whatever you do, I'm still going to love you, And they look at you all strange. I said, because that's what Jesus tells us. You're not doing any good for yourself. You're not doing any, but we're going to love you. And it's not against the church. They're just being a pain in the neck.
But it takes the power out of it, doesn't it? Because if you apply that paragraph to the children, love your enemies. Okay, well, they're not really our enemies, but they're annoying us. Do good to those who hate you. Oh, here you are. Come in and have a coffee with us. Have a chat.
Yeah,
bless those who curse you. What can we do for you? Pray for the. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, what would you like to set fire to now?
Yeah.
Here, have some hymn books. Because of course they wouldn't do it if you offered them hymn books and a pile of matches. It wouldn't. But let's watch. We'll watch while you set fire to all the rest of our things.
And that's exactly no. And that's exactly my approach in a way. You just got to get beside them, and metaphorically wrap your arms around them. Because it's not because they're bad. Because I don't think any of them are bad. They're just, they're just in a
bored or fed up or being annoying.
Tears and all the rest of it. And we know that that's not a good reason. It's like years ago when I remember the child wanting to join the gang on a school holiday. And the thing to get into the gang in the park was I had to go and steal a peach off Mr. Price's greengrocery store. Well, stupid. I went and did it, and because he wasn't there. Oh, yeah, but of course everyone knew he sat in the back of the shop with a perfect view through to his store. He didn't chase after me because he knew who my mother was. Next time she passed, he said, and I got belted and I got home and made to go back and take pocket money and pay for the peach. But, my mother would say to me if she belted me with the slipper later, I'm only doing this because I love you. I thought it was a strange way of showing it.
I've always found that a very
strange phrase.
Yeah, but I didn't do it again though. And, and I think, it is, sorry, Chris.
I say it's always a very strange phrase, isn't it? And it goes along with, trust me, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you.
I know.
And all other terrible phrases that should be consigned to history.
Yeah. No, I have to be honest and say I've never said that. I always say this is going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt me. Yeah. As I've hovered over them with an injection,
Yeah. Well, there we are. That's our challenge, isn't it? And that's what brings the hope that the values of the world will not forever be the ones that triumph, and that the values of God's kingdom are being enacted now, and that one point in future will be fully enacted.
And I think those of us who choose to live that way are never going to always be popular. But then life isn't a popularity contest; it's about being honest and true, isn't it, to what you believe and the way of life we think is good for everybody.
And on that note, we must go. I was just thinking about singing a rousing chorus of For All the Saints, but don't worry, we'll have all 86 verses of that on Sunday, so that's fine.
Twice. 3 times. Could be.
You can find us all the time on websites and on social media at the Egerton and Colmers Benefice and Beaminster Area Team. It's been lovely to have you with us today. Take care, enjoy All Saints Day, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.